Hello, this is Tim Law with Planet Forward Coaching. Always looking to ensure and improve everybody's personal self-reliance. If you'll develop a marketable skill, chase that skill with a good work ethic, along with good people and communication skills, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish in this country. A big thank you to over 550 people that have subscribed to this channel, Planet Forward Coaching. If you haven't already, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. I am interviewing a great guy. I've known him for, my goodness, going on over 50 years. A high school wrestling teammate of mine, Tommy Mandara, wrestled with me at Gates Chila. I was the old guy as a senior. Tommy was a freshman. We've been great friends ever since. So, Tommy, tell us your little story, how you got into wrestling, and we'll take it from there.
Well, I knew a little bit about wrestling because my brother wrestled at McQuaid High School, and I followed him there. And I mean, I didn't know what wrestling really was, but I used to go to his matches and thought, wow, this is pretty cool. This is something I might be interested in. So from there on in, that's what I decided I wanted to do when I got to high school, because I was all of about 90 pounds soaking wet. And so then I decided to get into wrestling after. Plus, my brother used to use me as a wrestling dummy a lot of times and beat up on me. So I thought, hey, this would be fun if I could do this to somebody else. So,
Yeah, well, it makes a lot of sense, Tommy. And I think you summed up this great sport in such a good way because, a lot of us came into high school as, very, very lightweight. And, football in a lot of cases wasn't an option, even though football was kind of the sport of our era, and still is for that matter. But the idea that you're matched up with somebody who's relatively close to your weight is a big advantage as far as wrestling. Would you agree there?
oh, absolutely. I mean, that levels the playing field for anybody who's involved in the sport. Okay, so you're not wrestling somebody who's 200 pounds more than you. I mean, I remember when I went out for football, and I played football my freshman year in high school, and then my sophomore year, and I was going into dummy drills with somebody. I was holding the dummy bag, and one of our friends, Alex Macaluso, was running. I was holding the blocking bag for him, and he ran into me and knocked me 20 feet in the air, and I'm laying on the ground at 100 pounds saying, what am I doing here, So I decided wrestling was the thing I wanted to get into as an aggressive, hard-hitting sport rather than football.
Yeah, well, and we both have known Alex for a long time too. Alex would have been, I think, a year ahead of you, and he ultimately turned into be 177 pounder, wrestled some heavyweight. He was a big dude, and Alex was jacked too. He wasn't just a big dude. He was very, very put together for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So your high school career, Tom, went quite well for you. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll move on to your time out in Ashland, Ohio.
Well, from the time that I got into wrestling in high school, I was a varsity wrestler. I wrestled all 4 years varsity, which to me was a pretty good accomplishment. And I had a winning record every year. I finished with now back in those days, if you had 20 matches in a season, that was a lot.
Yeah.
And I finished with a 60, 10-2 record. And fortunately for me, a big deal back then was to be like a Monroe County champion. And that's something that I was able to accomplish. I never made it to the state tournament, but being a Monroe County champion around this area was a big deal. So I was pretty proud of that fact. So I was able to accomplish that.
Yeah, definitely a good feat, Tommy, for sure. Yeah.
And then I was fortunate enough that while I was wrestling in the Monroe County tournament in the finals, a good friend of mine, Dave Toth, saw me competing there. Dave Toth was a 2-time All-American wrestler from Ashland University. So he gave my name to the coach. He apparently saw something he liked, gave my name to the coach, and I was recruited to wrestle at Ashland University under Chris Ford, who was a great coach. I love the guy. Who he himself ended up being the head wrestling coach at Ohio State University.
Right. No, I recall. And what's interesting there, as far as Dave is concerned, Dave was a Rochester guy too. I think he was Brighton High School. I might be wrong on that, Tom.
No, you're right.
Is that correct?
Right. Yep.
Well, it's nice when the memory bank works here,
Hmm.
after all these years. Yeah, Dave was a super guy, and I got to know him pretty well. In fact, we had a match against each other at the Clarion Quad that we used to go to, and Dave got me that day. It was like 6-3 or something. It was a respectable match from my end, considering how good he was. So, but yeah, super guy, and Coach Ford. I mean, he was awesome. He just was just Mr. Personality for sure. So how did things go for you in Ashland, Tom?
Well, let me first say, Tim, that there was quite a pipeline of wrestlers coming out of the Rochester area attending Ashland. And
Hmm.
you had probably, when I was there, close to 10 guys that were from the Rochester area that were wrestling at Ashland. I, and I think uh, Chris Ford had gone to the RIT wrestling camp and
Yes.
maybe recruited some kids there. And then Dave Toth had gone back to Rochester. Plus, Chris Ford had a connection with Frank Oliveri
Yep.
in the area, and Frank was giving him some names. So there was a lot of guys from Rochester and New York, the upstate New York area, that went on to Ashland and did well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have some of those names, Tommy? Right.
Uh,
Clayton
Clay
Barnard wrestled.
Barnard
Yeah.
was a three-time All American at Ashland out of Hilton High School.
Yeah.
Um, Let me think. He was the best one out of all of us.
Sure.
Um, I'm trying to think now. Bob DeBotto
Hmm.
went there, wrestled for us. Mark McCormick,
Hmm.
Jay Dellavella,
Yeah.
Jesse Irwin, down also out of not Pioneer High School. Mike Arnold. Mike Arnold was a three-time All-American
Yeah. Yeah.
that went
That's
to
over,
Ashland.
over near Buffalo. They're Pioneer, I believe. Is
Yes,
that correct? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So Tommy, tell us about your teaching and
Oh,
coaching career.
I forgot one other person I should mention.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Friedman, who was a
Okay.
national champ at Ashland
Okay.
and a great wrestler from Eastridge High School. Okay,
Okay.
so I didn't want to forget him because he was the real deal back in the day.
Sure, sure. Well,
Mhm.
that's good. I'm glad you got his name in there, Tom. So, okay, so now you went into teaching and coaching, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one of the most difficult things in college was making weight. 118 pounds was very, very difficult for me, and it kind of took the air out of my sails, so to speak, because it was so difficult trying to get down. And I
Sure.
was ready to leave college and jump into the coaching ranks. And my first coaching job was at Charlotte High School in Rochester, New York.
Hmm.
And it could have been a better situation for me. We had a lot of kids there that were excited about being there. And for some reason, they took to me, and we had a great season. I loved working with them. It couldn't have been a better first coaching outing for me. And as far as my coaching, I tried to take a lot of the little things I watched from different coaches. My high school coach, Bill Christina,
Yeah.
Chris Ford. My senior year in college, I had Al Platt when Chris left and went to Ohio State. So I looked at what they did, and I saw different things I liked about what they did, and tried to put that all together for me as a coach, and it seemed to work.
Hmm. Sure, sure. And
Mhm.
and you're actually your longtime coaching stint was in Victor, New York. Is that correct?
That's correct. For kids today that are out of college and they're looking for teaching and coaching jobs, they have to understand you're not gonna get that one perfect job right out of the boat. I went to Charlotte, and then I went out to Ohio and coached in a small district called Monroeville, Ohio,
Hmm.
for a year. And then I went to a place called Steubenville, Ohio, and I was a junior high coach there for 2 years.
Hmm.
Then I was fortunate enough to get picked up, but get noticed by Victor, New York, and that's where I stayed and had the rest of my career there, and where I retired from 10 years ago.
Yeah, and tell us about your son Dan. I mean, he really hit the big time as far as his wrestling career.
Well, I was fortunate that Dan took to wrestling very, very well. Okay, and we used to bring him in. I used to bring him into practices with me, and guys would roll around with him and wrestle when he was just a little guy. And he just loved it. So I didn't have to do anything special to try and turn him on to wrestling. And he was a natural at it. I mean, he did a lot of things that it takes some people years to accomplish as far as body awareness, and he had it. He just had the body awareness and everything like that. So he ended up being a New York State champion in high school, having 150 wins, and he was also a high school All-American. He placed in the Fargo Cadet Nationals.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, and like me, he went to Ashland University and did very well there. He was a regional champion one year, and unfortunately, he just missed out, like his father, on being an All-American. You know, you get close to that medal round and and almost make it, and he was unable to do it. But he had a fantastic career. I was very proud of him, and it was thrilling for us to follow him and watch him.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and what's great about this sport, Tommy, are the life lessons. And again, this is geared toward teens and young adults. What are some of the key life lessons that you felt you've learned from the sport? The sport of wrestling, and how it's helped you as far as your life and career are concerned.
Well, I mean, the main thing, and almost every wrestler will tell you this, it's a very gritty sport, and it takes a lot. You have to be into it, and you can't quit. You have to, if you're going to be successful, okay, especially when you get in a tournament, when you're in a wrestling tournament and you lose a match and you're like really angry and upset, and kids will learn this throughout the years. You only have a short time to be upset, and then you have to regain your composure and be ready to start again.
Yeah. And
I think it teaches kids that, and it taught me that as well, that if I had the work ethic and I could take a loss and then bounce back, that I would be successful.
Yeah. Well, very well said, Tommy. And I love that advice. Certain stories we're going to keep out of here, like, some of the adventures you had with my brothers, Tom and Dave. Well,
we had some great adventures. You
yeah,
gotta love them.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, this has been great. Can you hang for a minute or two when we get finished here?
Sure.
Great. Any last second thoughts before I hold this off here?
No, I just want to say that I was recently inducted into the Section 5 Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And which was a thrill for me. And I don't think it was really because I had outstanding amount of wins. I mean, I had my share of wins as a coach and everything like that. But I think the main reason I was really inducted is because my service to the sport. I was always in there, always a gentleman. I tried to be a gentleman, be a good example to the kids and everything like that. And I think it was well noticed, and it helped me to be noticed and push me to the Hall of Fame. So
sure,
that was exciting for me.
Absolutely. Well, and there's a lot of variety of ways to gain a great honor like that, and certainly being of service for the sport, for the good of the sport is absolutely a wonderful thing, Tommy. That's for sure. So
Sure.
So well, go ahead.
I just want to say, what is very gratifying after years of teaching and coaching, that I get to see a lot of the guys that wrestle for me become adults and be great parents, be successful in whatever activities they're involved in. And I'll give you an example. I have a kid, Casey Lamb, who was a runner-up in New York State for me, and he went on to wrestle at Boise State and Cornell. He has a jiu-jitsu gym that he runs.
Wow.
Synthesis Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And about 2 years ago, he was a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow.
Okay. And then I have another boy who wrestled for me, Dan Payne. I think you know him. He was a All-American at Clarion University.
Okay.
But after college and after wrestling, he hooked into rugby. And he made the national team for rugby, that went a World Cup team, and that. And now he is the CEO of Rugby of Americas. So he's involved in rugby, and he's involved in the marketing and everything else for rugby in North America and South America.
Wow. Tommy,
Seeing-
what's a chance you could get me any of those guys as far as an interview? I'd love to have them.
Yeah, I think I could probably get that information for you. Sure.
Great, great,
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful.
Mhm.
Well, Tom, this has been awesome. Please hang on for just a minute or so afterwards, okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, just bringing Tommy back for just a second to tell about this awesome program that he's got. So Tommy, please do so. And I'm sorry I didn't ask you about that. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tim was well aware of the program that we developed, and after I was out of wrestling for a while, and I went back in as a JV coach for many years. But we noticed that kids were getting overweight and they were lacking in exercise in our school. So my colleagues and I, in the physical education department, decided we wanted to find a way to get them more exercise. So we developed a program where after morning announcements, kids would get 5 minutes of exercise every day. So we used regular music and put dance steps and different kinds of steps and movements and everything to music. And we did it every day in the mornings. And then every 2 weeks, we would change and make a new routine. Well, it was so popular, we had 900 students in our school that were exercising every day, every morning, and looking forward to it as well. And the teachers were exercising right along with them. So it was very, very good. Based on that, I took it a step further and made it into a program that I could sell to schools, and we called it +5 Fitness.
Yeah, and
Which means
the 5 is the number 5, right?
Number
+5
5,
fitness.
+5 Fitness,
Yeah.
and the 5 stands for 5 minutes of extra exercise every day.
Right.
+5 Fitness.
Mhm.
Okay, and for several years, I had a lot of luck selling it, mostly at conventions, physical education conventions, and that type of thing. But like everything else, the time came up with other ideas and everything like that. We tried to make it into an app, but at one point, we were at probably over 100 schools on the East Coast, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia, and that type of thing. So I was pretty popular. It was pretty exciting, and it took me into a new realm that I'd never experienced before, and that is developing a small business.
Sure.
And I had to learn that on the fly, and I was very happy about that. Now, of course, I'm not really involved in it anymore, but it was quite an experience, to be able to go into that realm and try to sell that and market it and that type of thing.
Sure, sure. Well, and it's just a great idea because boy, everybody knows we need, it doesn't matter what the age is, we need movement for sure and to stay active. Well, Tommy, this has been awesome. Appreciate it very much. Please hang for a minute or two after, okay?
Sure will, Tim. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.